Okay, we're in position for the burn, and you can see Moho back here. And I've done the math on it, and we need 18 minutes and 56 seconds before the node to start the burn. So I'm going to warp time ahead until then. Not very fast because we're actually pretty close to it already. "18 minutes, 58, 57, 56. And we're burning. And I might end up going, well, first going nuts because the camera angle won't let me switch where I want to. Alright. I'm going to watch this stage, and when it's out of fuel, we may possibly be jettisoning the thing. Either that or transfer more fuel from these two tanks to refill that one, keep it burning. And as long as the lander has fuel in here, in the 4 FLT 400s here for the for its lander nuclear engines, that should be enough to actually achieve a landing. We'll see. I'll be back later on in the burn. Okay, I've been looking at the situation here, and I think we need to make a change to what's going on. So I'm going to cut the engines. And then I'm going to take the fuel in the Rockamax, and I'm going to transfer it back up here. All of it. Including the engine, the fuel for the FLT 400s. Get all of it transferred back up topside here to the lander. Hope that we can get it balanced in some way. Alright. And then I'm going to decouple the large share of this, because by doing that I can reduce the mass of the ship by about 50 tons. That will seriously increase the available delta V and give this thing an actual chance to be able to do a braking maneuver and get an orbital capture. That's about the only way this thing's going to get where it needs to go. Okay. All the fuel is transferred. And now we will control from the lander and undock. No, not undock. We will decouple that coupler. As the lander switches around to line up with the maneuver node, I will activate the nuclear engines on it. And also make sure that the gimbals are locked. Alright, the ship's mass is considerably lower, and I think that means we've got a shot to actually be able to get this done. The lander, with this extra capsule up here, should not have any problem landing, assuming that it's still possible. Now let's get out here and recalculate our capture burn. Add maneuver. And see if we can do it for 3670 meters per second or less. Preferably enough less that we can actually afford enough fuel for a landing. Not looking good. But at least we should be able to achieve a capture. $3,000, $3,100, $200, $300. Oh boy. And there is no more mass that we can get rid of to speak of. Alright, capture is going to cost more fuel than we have. Stretch this out to just barely being captured. Okay, 4265 meters per second required. We have 3670. Well, I've heard it said many times that Moho is difficult to get to, and it's no surprise. All right, lined up on the maneuver node. And burn it. There is one more possible option. I just thought of, there is one more way we can get rid of some more mass. I could jettison the nuclear engines and rely on this skipper engine for braking, because it's capable of a decent amount of thrust, and these nuclear engines are heavy. But I can't do that until there's enough. Well, actually, there is enough room to transfer the fuel out of those tanks. Let's see. 60 newtons of thrust times 4, that's 240. Skipper engine is good for about 250, I believe. Alright, let's try that. Cut thrust. Transfer this fuel into these tanks. So that we're not jettisoning fuel. And then we'll jettison the nuclear engines and the tanks that are attached to them. That will reduce the ship's mass even more. Yeah, put it over there. Alright, that's taken care of. And then we'll decouple that. Ship's mass is 111. Decouple this one down to 108. Decouple that one down to 105. And decouple this one. And now activate the skipper engine and lock its gimbal. .3253 meters per second in delta V available, and it's still looking like it's going to cost more than that. There are no more parts to this ship that we can jettison, so we will burn this thing and do the best we can with what we've got. And I will be back later in the burn with an update. Okay, as you can see, we still have a fair amount of time left in the burn. However, the fuel is very soon going to be exhausted. So we'll go ahead and burn this out. See what happens. I've already taken time to transfer the fuels so that 2 of these tanks are empty and 1 of them is not. Well, no. Transfer all the fuel to 2 of the tanks, plus there is whatever's left in the center tank. That's the last of our fuel right there. When that's gone, we're done. And it's going to be gone soon. By the way, the skipper engine, I was mistaken, it doesn't have 250 newtons of thrust, it has 650. But it doesn't matter. Or at least it may not. We're getting awfully close to a capture. It's starting to bend around. But the fuel is almost gone. Less than 50. 20 and 0. And we have 0 meters per second in delta V available. There is one last thing to do, and that's turn Smart ASS off, turn SAS off, enable the thrusters, and use thrusters to get what little braking we can out of that. It's not much. But I'm going to go ahead and burn the thruster fuel and see if we can at least get an orbital capture. And I'll be back. Okay, this bit with the thrusters is taking quite a while. And you can see it's not had a whole lot of effect. And so I'm going to try one last, admittedly desperation maneuver, acknowledging that this ship just simply isn't going to land, period. Stop thrusting. I'm going to decouple these external tanks. The idea being to reduce the ship's mass even more by getting rid of these tanks that we don't need anymore. Alright, and now thrusters off, get Smart ASS to turn us retrograde again. Turn that off, SAS off, thrusters on. Get some braking going on, get those tanks get away from us so that we don't lose the solar panels. Not that even too much of that matters. And I would decouple this skipper engine if I could, but it's not set up for that. That's got the ship's mass down to 28 tons. And what I'm going to have to do now is just hold on to this thrusters and burn the remaining 485 units of fuel remaining there and see if maybe we can get a capture. I have a feeling it's going to be a flyby. It's going to be more of a slingshot than a capture. But I'm going to burn the fuel I have to try anyway. Alright, we're down to just the last little bit of our RCS juice, and it's not going to be enough. I'm doing the best I can to keep the ship pointed retrograde the whole time. And here we are, the last 10 liters of RCS fuel. We have done a considerable amount of braking, from 800 and some meters per second down to 693, but it's that 692, 91, whatever, that we're going to have. Yeah, 691.4 meters per second more deceleration would be required to achieve an orbit. And so this is the final flight profile for this ship. We can get rid of the maneuver node. It's not useful at all. Ship will reach periapsis in 5 minutes and 56 seconds. It will have Moho escape in 2 hours and 5 minutes. And that's that. at that point, following the yellow orbit line, we will be in a solar orbit, mostly just outside of Moho's orbit, with a possibility in the probably very far future of another encounter whenever the ship and Moho get to this point in the orbit at the same time. Unlikely that will happen in anybody's lifetime. So we will time warp ahead to get the final disposition of this flight. Passing periapsis, Moho recedes in the distance. And the lesson learned here is the next time there is a flight to Moho, it will depart Kerbin with no less than 9 kilometers per second worth of delta V, so that we don't have something like this happen again. The ship may possibly encounter Moho again, but its orbit is sufficiently different that that's going to probably take a good number of years. And so, thus ends the mission to Moho. It might be possible to get a rescue ship out to this thing, and assuming 0.21 takes long enough to get there to be released, I may attempt it. But for the meantime, the Moho mission is concluded. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. I'm out of here.